Hey everybody, welcome back to Post Edit Draft. One of the things I want to continue to keep top of mind, because it's on our mind, is AI, and specifically Open AI and ChatGPT and all of that, because there's this huge opportunity for integration with WordPress. And so I was talking with one of our longtime members, Mark Westguard from WS Forum, and they've just come out with an add-on. I'll let him share more about that, but I want to talk to Mark, who we've had on the podcast before, but specifically about the opportunity and some of the application of integrating OpenAI power, which we were just talking before we started recording, is like magical. How do the little elves that make it all work? And then really just talk about what the opportunities are there. So Mark, thanks for coming back to Post Edit Draft.
Thanks, Cory. How you doing?
Pretty good. All right. Tell me what you're doing with, well, let's talk first about OpenAI, because you've been digging in with this. You've created an add-on for WS Forms that leverages some of the power of OpenAI, but tell me a little bit about that, the OpenAI. You were kind of breaking this down for me and sharing the ability. You've even got a demo that you can show some of this, which I think would be really awesome to show some of the power. And then we'll get into the application of how you're using it in WS Forum to help users. So first, what drew you to this?
Just to talk about it in the industry, really. Twitter was just full of OpenAI stuff, and also, just talking to friends I have like Andrew Palmer and Stephanie Hudson, who run Bertha.ai. They were integrated in with OpenAI, and I'm like, okay, what is this thing? How do I plug into this and use this in a way that's going to be useful for our customers? So the first thing that kind of drew me to it was the moderation feature of OpenAI. And in short, you can send a block of text to it. It will moderate it and look for anything offensive and let you know how offensive it thinks that content is. And I'm being an advocate for reducing as much spam as possible in form submissions. I thought, well, that would be a great feature to have in WS Form. Then I started digging into it a bit more, and I thought, well, these other features that it offers would be great for forms as well. So broadly speaking, there are four main things that OpenAI can do. First thing is completions. A completion is where you basically prompt it with a question. So you could say, what is an apple? And it would then give you a response, and it will write a paragraph about that. You may have used that in ChatGPT. ChatGPT has really brought that OpenAI technology to the masses because it just makes it so easy to use in that chat environment. So as you know, you can ask it to write code. You can even start playing noughts and crosses with it if you want to. It's pretty incredible what it comes back with. And then you have the edit capability, which is where you can give it some existing text, and then you can ask it to edit that text. So you could ask it to do spelling, fix spelling mistakes or improve grammar and things like that. Then there's the moderation component that I just spoke about, where you're giving it content, it moderates it and says yay or nay, it's bad content. The moderation side of things tends to be more towards violence and people saying bad things about each other rather than bad words. So, putting the word Viagra in there is not going to prompt it, but if you say something bad about somebody, it'll start flagging that content more. But it's quite an interesting way of looking for bad content on a form submission. And then the last one is images. So creating, you may have tried that with Dolly, DALL-E, where you can type in what type of image you want and it will then return an image. So we've integrated that in with WS Forms so you can actually submit those images as part of a form submission. So you could use that for maybe creating an avatar on a user or a featured image on a post, or anywhere that you're looking for an image, you can use that as an optional feature. So those are the four main kind of broad areas of OpenAI.
That's awesome. Similarly, it's like just working with ChatGPT, you're like, there's pretty cool power. It's kind of mind blowing. I was asking it all kinds of questions and coming back. But herein is an amazing opportunity for us that I love that you and others in our community have started to go, let's test some of these things out. Let's use this that integration potential was just the things you just said just now. There's
Mhm.
immediate practical opportunities, and then there's some far-reaching ones.
Yes.
So would you show us a little bit? Then I just want to talk about, show us what you've done. You've got a
Sure.
demo, and I know how that works. But would you screen share and share what you've done
Absolutely.
so far? Then we'll start talking about some of the opportunities, this integration between this for what WordPress can do on
Yep.
the web.
Yeah, so this is a knowledge base article on WS Form that just describes how OpenAI works and how our add-on works. And below here, we've got a demo. This is probably the thing that we want to show people. So here's an example of a completion. So as I said before, you could say, what is an apple? Not a very good prompt, but it'll just show you how it's working. So this is now making a query off to OpenAI, and it will then put a completion in whatever field I want on that form. So that could be a text field. It could be, it could even be a section of HTML on the page if you wanted it to be. The way that OpenAI works, it's all token based. So the more tokens that you allow OpenAI to use, the longer the content's going to be that will come back. So if you're asking it to maybe produce some code, I mean, I can show you a quick example of that. So write me some PHP code for WordPress. If I could type properly, it would be nice, wouldn't it? That loops through posts with a category of book. Let's try that. So we do get completion. So now it's going to go off to OpenAI again. This is using the same technology as the ChatGPT, and there's the code that it has come up with. So that's an example of a completion. You can also use that completion technology in more of a chat environment. So this is kind of like AI human. And again, I can say, what is an apple? Ooh. Submit. And then it's going to give you a response back and then come back to the human prompt as well. So this is more of a chat format. So it's kind of remembering what you've asked before, and you can keep that conversation going. Editing. So with editing, what you do is you provide it some content. So you could say, my name is Mark Westguard, and then you can give it some instruction on that. So let's say I spelt the word name wrong. I can say, fix the spelling, and then get the edited output. It'll now look at my instruction and correct that output. So you can do stuff like fix my grammar. You could even do stuff like write an additional sentence that describes this a little bit further, and it'll actually do that. It's pretty crazy what you can do with that edit. Moderation, we don't have a demo for because it's actually just masking the form submission as spam or not. So I can't really demo that. But essentially, it works like most of our other spam features where, if it finds spam, it'll move that to the spam box in your submissions. The image one, with images, what you can do is I can say, enter an image description, let's say cat on top of a dog. And then you get image. So you can put, all kinds of crazy stuff in here. And what that'll do is then load that image into our image field, which can then be submitted as part of a post. Or, it could be used for an avatar for a user or whatever you want to use that image field for. You could even push that through to any of our add-ons like Slack or any of the third parties that we integrate with. We have a URL version of that as well. So if you just want to get the URL of that image from OpenAI, you can do that. But I'm sure this one will probably be the most popular. So really what we've tried to do is just make OpenAI as accessible as possible for people that are using forms. And you can actually put multiple requests on a single page as well. So you could have one for a bit of text content, have another one for image, and you could also include the editing functionality on the same text field if you wanted to. So yeah, that's where we are.
Okay, I want to geek out with this in just a minute, but I want to take the next step and show what you can do inside of WS Form. Like this is incredible. We'll talk hours for this, but I want to see the application side, how these are, I think, excellent examples of the power of it. Now the application of it, even more powerful.
Yeah, so let's go into WS4 and you'll see where this gets added. So this is our add new page for creating a new form, and you'll see there's a new tab called OpenAI. So these templates here are basically designed just to kind of get you started. You can add to these, modify these. You can even just use an existing form and add the OpenAI functionality if you want. let's just do a simple one. So we'll do a completion. So we'll use that template. So WS Form's now building the form for you. And you'll notice on this form, we've got the prompt, we've got a button to actually go off and get that completion, and then we have the completion itself. And there's a submit button for actually ultimately submitting that form if you wanted to do that. And the way this works, very simple. We have conditional logic on here, which actually runs the AI request. So we're saying if that get completion button has been clicked, then make the OpenAI request and run that immediately. And if we go to actions, you'll see here is that OpenAI request that gets run. So what we're saying to OpenAI is we want to do a completion. This is the OpenAI model that we want to use. So there are different models. GPT-3 is currently the best one that's out there. And then you can actually tweak this as well. So I can choose how many tokens I want to use. The more tokens you enable, the more likely you're going to get charged more, because the charging is done on a token basis. But actually running a completion is, a couple of cents at most. It's quite inexpensive. And then below that, we have different things that you can tweak to modify the output. So here's an example here of temperature. So temperature actually determines how much that output's going to change each time I submit that completion. And if I put completion up to 1, I'm going to get much more different content every time I do a submission. If I do it at 0, it's going to be pretty much the same each time. And there's a few other options on here. Some of them I actually don't really understand them. But we've included them just so that if somebody does understand what's going on with that, they can go ahead and tweak those. So pretty much everything that the OpenAI API gives to us as a setting, we have made that available to you within WS Form. And of course, all of the fields and everything that are created in that template can be adjusted just like you can on any other WS form. So you can move things around, make it responsive and make it look how you want to. And then you can just preview that and change, test that out, make sure it's working. Completion. And there you go. So very, very easy to implement this on existing forms and creating new forms as well.
Awesome. Oh, okay, so what does the front end of something like this look like?
It's basically whatever you want it to be. So you can do, multi-column output, single column output, mobile responsive. You'll see here we have the breakpoint selector in WS Forms. So for example, on mobile, you may want to have full width. And then I could actually move between different breakpoints here and make that responsive. So for a larger screen, you may want to present that in a 2-column format. Entirely up to you what you want to do.
I got you.
Fully responsive.
I'm sorry. So like this example, what does the front-facing website person say or do?
It'll look pretty much like this demo. Yeah,
I got you.
So this is actually a WS form on our knowledge base page.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
This is not an OpenAI component. This is actually WS form, and we've just created these demo forms to show you what it may look like.
I gotcha.
But again, you can make that look however you want. You can start it with CSS. You can use our starting tools for that if you want to change the columns.
Yeah.
So really, it's completely flexible in terms of how you want it to look.
So essentially, you can say WS Form can be a conduit for the OpenAI stuff to be like this built-in research thing for a team or different stuff to leverage some of this power. Like if you're a blogger, you can create within WordPress publishing, I need an image for this blog post that is this type and then go over here. So really doing that tight integration with OpenAI where you don't have to go over to ChatGPT and copy stuff. It's all right here.
Yeah. I mean, usually
experiment with.
Yeah. I mean, usually what will happen is the form would be on the front of the site with somebody creating some content. So they may log in to access that, and then the form will come up. And then if you're creating a post, maybe that would be post title, the post content. And then you could, in that post content, have a little prompt that says, what do you want me to write about? And then inject that into the post content. And then upload a featured image, or I'll create an image for you. What image do you want me to create for you? And then it would then put that into the file upload. And then, so really you've got full AI on creating a post if you wanted to. You don't have to use all the features if you don't want to. But it's funny, I was talking to Bob WP yesterday about this. We actually did a podcast about it, and there's a lot of talk about it being quite a scary technology as well. So I think that anything you create with it, you want to check it. Don't trust it 100%. You want to check what comes out of this system and make sure that what it's giving you is what you're looking for. But it can certainly be a great tool for getting you started with a blog post, or getting you help with editing and improving grammar, and maybe writing it in a slightly different way that you hadn't thought of. Use it as a creativity tool. But don't trust it 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, when we were talking before we started recording, you're like, there's basically like 3 categories. You said create, edit, moderate.
Yep.
I'm really intrigued by the create and edit capabilities of OpenAI, and I'm curious to get your perspectives on that not from the software side, applying what the power is of OpenAI to WordPress inside of there. And it's just intriguing. You kind of started with this, like what are some of those things you're seeing that you could do? Like, we've seen, this is great, be able to kind of moderate content, create videos, or not videos, I'm sorry, images, those I can track back to what the power of WordPress is publishing, creating and publishing. So what are some things you've seen messing around with all of this and seeing some of the power of it that's not here today, but like you're curious about and interested in?
It's really early days with this technology. It's interesting. I've had some customers already coming back to me. One of them's been using this in a support environment, and they've actually got it on their support form because a lot of their content is online. So they're able to query OpenAI about their own product with questions that have been typed in by a user, and it then can spit results back. So, there's one application. Just some others that people have spoken to me about has been creating avatar images for users. So we have a user management add-on that you can use to register users on WordPress. And you can use a file upload field to specify the avatar image for that user. So OpenAI could be used to create that image. If you want to create a funny one-eyed fuzzy monster, then you can use it to do that. And then, improving grammar on blog posts, I think, is a great thing. I love that edit feature. I wasn't even aware that it could do that before I started writing the OpenAI add-on. But just having that as a feature where maybe you've written a blog post and you need some help with part of it, I think that's a great application for it. In terms of kind of the code writing part of it, I don't think us developers need to worry too much about it. It's not going to take our jobs. It has an upper limit of about 4,000 characters anyway. So it's never going to, I can't go into it and say, hey, write Yoast or write WooCommerce. It's not going to do that for you. But in terms of giving you some pointers towards smaller snippets of code, it's certainly helpful for that. Again, I wouldn't take it on face value. Always make sure that it's working properly. One example of where I don't trust it is, obviously, we always want to make sure our inputs and outputs of code are secure. They've been escaped, and we've made sure there's nothing malicious in there. Typically, when you ask OpenAI for a bit of code, none of that happens. It will literally just take, what's coming in on a post request and just spit it out. So definitely take that in mind when you're using this tool. It's not intelligent enough to do that type of stuff.
The utility of what WS Form does, for sure. Like I see that. Like, I love the moderation thing about spam stuff. Sky's the limit. My background, I draw to content creation and editing because we've all hit that dreaded writer's block, or just needed a little spark or inspiration to get going. And I've heard and talked to enough people to go, like, those are the type of things that I think could really light a fire to this. Is it's an assistant. It's assisting you in doing all the functions you want, particularly on your WordPress website. But when that subset of function, create content, edit content, like I saw you say that fix the spelling, in the very simple example you gave. It's
Mhm.
like, yeah, I might use Grammarly, but there's so much more power out there that, and the AI obviously is getting way
Yeah.
better.
Well, if you had a big article that was referencing someone's name and maybe you had the name incorrect, you could just say change the name to whatever, and it will go through and change it. So it's a great editing tool, I think. It's almost kind of like, Google 2.0, whereas on Google you'll type in a question and it'll give you URLs for you to then trundle through and try and find the answer. This is kind of jumping that step and trying to give you that answer immediately. And I think it does a pretty good job of it. It's not always accurate. Like I said, and you and I have said, it's got to be an assistant tool. It's not going to give you the 100% the correct answer every time, but it does an impressive job. I've been amazed by some of the stuff that it spits out.
Yeah. And that head start, that spark to help you, so I'm excited. I'm going to go play with WS Form, your open AI integration, because it didn't click for me until yesterday. I go, these people are all doing all this stuff, but they're not logging into ChatGPT, and I just hadn't taken the time to go. There's an API that you can buy, and what you do with your add-on is make that. Oh, I can use it now.
Yeah, I think that
It
was.
sounds a lot like AWS. You buy
Mhm.
computing power and all this stuff. And I looked at the pricing, and I was telling Lindsay last night, I was like, oh, this is AWS type, resource.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you've done that integration point to leverage it within WordPress.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
basically about making that data accessible, right? So, and making it essentially no code. So all you got to do is just drag and drop a couple of input fields, tell WS Form which is the input, which is the output, and off you go. So it's pretty easy to build forms that integrate that OpenAI technology. And by all means, use those templates. The templates are ready to go. So you just
yeah.
click it, it builds a form for you, and you can start playing with it. So it's pretty straightforward.
I want to play around with the chat that you
Mm-hmm.
were saying, and how when you do the completion chat function,
Yeah.
it's reading what you've already talked about. So if you have a thought, okay, I'm trying to create a blog post on WordPress hosting, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
or something, and then it reads, I want to do some experimenting with that. So now you
Yeah.
give them a new toy to go take for a test spin.
Yeah, that should behave relatively similar to ChatGPT, because that's how that one works. So,
Yeah. Awesome. Mark, what else do you got going on over at WS Forum?
oh, we're just right now getting ready for WordCamp Asia. We're going
I
to
was
be
about to say, I think I knew you were going to Asia and probably Europe too, right?
yeah, that's going to be some serious jet lag.
Yeah, no
um,
kidding.
and I'm actually going to WordCamp Birmingham at the beginning of February, so I'm looking forward to that as well. And then we just got approved to sponsors for WordCamp Europe again, so we
Rock on.
getting ready for Athens. So we're looking forward to that. And yeah, just day in day out answering those support tickets, keeping customers happy, and doing what we need to do to grow the business. So
Love it. Thanks, Mark, for sharing the integration you're doing with OpenAI and talking a little bit about this opportunity. And again, I want to see more and more. I want great members like yourself to lead that, but more and
yeah,
more
we'll keep innovating.
innovation. Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, thanks, Mark. We'll talk to you next time.
Get it. Thanks a lot. Take care.